Hello everyone and welcome back to a new video. I am going to be sharing the 9 projects I want to try and knit this year. So, normally known as a Make 9 on Instagram, and I did post on Instagram, which I didn't do last year. I think because I didn't know how to post like that multiple picture thing of like 9 pictures on one. It wasn't hard, but I don't think I knew how to do it, so I just left it. And then eventually time passes and you're like, can I really post about my Make 9 in like March? But here I am in February actually filming my Make 9 video. I did it last year, and I had planned to do like update videos for it, but if anyone has kept up with my what my Make 9 were last year and watched my podcast episodes, I only got one done, and it's the one I'm wearing, and I'm really proud of it. But this is the OTRA YOKE cardigan by SKEINDEER, and it's a steeked cardigan. It was the first time it's steeked, so if you're gonna only have one Make 9 project, at least, you know, it's something new and exciting. And yeah, it took a long time for me to get this finished. It is a fingering weight cardigan, so that shouldn't really be a surprise that it took so long. And I think after I finished it, like all the knitting and just had to do the steeking, I don't think that even took me that long. So you'd think I only finished one because I let it sit there for so long because I was scared of the steeking. That wasn't it. I started my second one. I didn't finish it. So last year, not that successful, but I'm okay with that. So I don't make these Make 9s as a thing to stress me out or be like, I have to knit these 9 and I can't knit anything else. And I know some people do kind of view Make 9s like that, not necessarily by choice. I think it's a personality thing. But for me, the Make 9 is a really nice thing to help me focus with my knitting. And if I don't know what to knit and I'm like, I want to start something new, but I don't know what to do, that's when I look at my Make 9s and kind of go, let's do one of these, because I really love these projects. And it's just nice to have a bit of focus when I feel a bit lost with my knitting. So these are the 9 projects, and the order I'm sharing them in is the same order I had on my Instagram post. It has nothing, what is going on with my hair? It has nothing to do with the order I'm going to knit them in. Nothing. It's just it looked pretty on Instagram. Start with number 1. The first project is from issue 23 of Amerisu magazine, which was like based on movies, inspired by movies, and SARI NORDLUND did a pattern for it called SATSUKI, which is inspired by My Neighbor Totoro, I'm pretty sure. I'll have a picture of the pattern anyway. And it's adorable. I love Studio Ghibli movies. My Neighbor Totoro isn't my favorite, and not even close to one of my favorites. I like the more dark, depressing ones a lot more. But I love Studio Ghibli movies, and it is a cute movie. And the yarn I bought here in Germany. So my current situation and plan is I've been trying to find an apartment in Darmstadt. I've just given up for now. It's too complicated. I want to focus on my work. I've got enough going on, and I'm quite happy where I am right now. And it gives me everything I need. So there's a yarn shop here in Griesheim. It's one of the first places I visited, if not the first place I visited, when I got here. And I knew I wanted to buy yarn for a relatively big project, and then eventually settled on this one, because it's why I bought the magazine, because I thought it was so pretty. The rest of the patterns are amazing as well, and I would like to make most of them. I think I want to make all of them, but let's be realistic, I'm never going to get around to it. And so I went into the shop knowing they only really stock Lana Grossa from what I could see online. Not my favorite yarn, but it's not a bad commercial yarn. So I went in, roughly knew I knew stop the yarn. I knew what weights of yarn I needed, and then eventually found this. So it's a fingering weight yarn. I just filmed a German one, so my brain's all confused. Fingering weight yarn with a mohair. So my fingering weight yarn is Ecopuno by Lana Grossa, which is a 72% cotton, 70% merino wool, 11% baby alpaca blend. So you can hopefully see it has this alpaca-y halo because of the alpaca. And the reason I wanted such a high content of cotton is because I have quite a few mohair jumpers. I get really hot in them. So I struggle to wear them for long periods of time. And so I'm hoping if the fingering weight yarn that I use has a decent amount of cotton, and like I said, this is 72%, then hopefully I won't get as hot and I can actually wear it. Because for me, a mohair containing garment is very much an outdoor piece. And I want to try and get more wear out of my jumpers. And I really can just wear them when I walk outside or if I spend a lot of time outside, and if I'm indoors for too long, I have to take them off. And then the mohair I'm using is from Brigitte, which is kind of a more affordable line from Lana Grossa from what I know. And it's 40% mohair, 37% extra fine merino, 23% polyamide. So not my favorite because of the polyamide. Lana Grossa does have a silk mohair blend, but it would have been so much more expensive, and I was like, I didn't want this to be a super expensive commercial jumper, and I was like, this will be fine. So I might have offset the whole cotton thing by having polyamide in this, but we'll see. And both of them are new to me yarn, so I was like, let's try something new. Let's see what it is. I am always interested, sort of like Sophie from the Knit Pearl Girl, different mohairs and trying to find like the mohair, or understanding what kind of mohairs there are out there so you can find the perfect one for different projects. So that's project number 1. And I'm really excited to see how they'll work up together because the mohair has like this black strand running through it in the middle. It's really interesting. Number 2 is, now that I think about it, I think this isn't actually the order that they were posted on Instagram. Oh well, number 2 on my list is the Tulip Sweater by Melody Hoffman, one I've wanted to knit for a really long time, and I've had most of the yarn for quite a while. So you knit it with Nutiden held double and a strand of mohair, and I've had the Nutiden since like March last year, maybe even longer. I think this was one of the first colours I bought. You can see it's been like with me for a long time because it's just so scrunched up. But I had such issues finding a mohair to go with it. So Nutiden, if you've ever seen it, is hard to see on camera. It has, while this one is purple, it has other colours running through it as well. There's parts which are a little bit more pink, parts which are a little bit more brown, parts which really are purple. And so finding a mohair that will let the Nutiden shine through is so hard. I reached a point where I gave up and was like, I'm just going to do my gauge swatch with Nutiden held double, and we'll see if we can get gauge with it and that I like the fabric it creates. But then when I was in London, I was like, okay, last chance. I took a little bit of Nutiden with me, went to different yarn shops, and eventually got lucky at Tribe Yarns, and I found this. It's a lot more muted and dark in person. So this is by Artyarns. It's their silk mohair, which is a 60% kid mohair, 40% silk blend. And you get 300 meters per 25 grams. So it's a bit finer than your standard silk mohair blend because they're typically around 212 meters. And the colors of this are just incredible because it's kind of purple all over, but it has this like rainbow, grungy, muted rainbow running through it, where you can see lighter purples, darker purples, yellows, browns, reds, light blues, dark blues. It's incredible, and that's what I'm going to use to make the tulip sweater. Finally! I am so excited to finally get this one done because I've wanted it for so long. I bought that purple yarn specifically for the tulip sweater and just haven't been able to do it because I've been looking for the mohair for so long. The third one. I don't have the yarn for this one with me in Germany. It's back in Austria. I have the yarn for all these projects. I just don't have all of them here in Germany. So number 3 is the AOSTA Summer Top by the Knit Purl Wheel. And I've started the AOSTA Cardigan Chunky edition, but I haven't finished it. That's in Austria. But it's the only AOSTA project within the AOSTA collection that I've ever worked on. I've made the Luca cardigan, which I test knitted for Sophie. It was the first time I test knitted for Sophie. And it has the same Andalusian stitch pattern, but it's not part of the AOSTA line because it's made with cotton. But I really like that stitch. It's something a bit different than just plain stockinette, and I, like I said, get hot very easily. So in summer, I really struggle to wear any of my knitwear, even sometimes if it is cotton and things like that. So I want to try and experiment a bit more so I have more choices in the warmer months. So the yarn I'm hoping to use, I'm gonna use, is by Sandnes Garn, and it's Lana, which I believe is a cotton linen blend. I don't know if there's any viscose in it. I know the tin Lana has viscose. Can't remember if Lana does. But yeah, so that's the one I'm hoping to use for that. It was originally, I think, made in Sandnes Garn Sunday held double. But I know it was a fingering weight yarn held double to make about a DK. So I'm just using one that's like a DK worsted weight. And once again, like I said, I need to pick that up when I'm in Austria next, which will hopefully be soon. And then I can bring all the yarn for the project of my Make 9 that I don't have here with me. Number 4 is the Forager by Melody Hoffman. You will see that there's 3 out of my Make 9 are Melody Hoffman patterns. I have a lot of her patterns because she had a sale, I think it was at the end of last year. I love her patterns so much. I also love her YouTube videos. I love her Instagram posts and the videos and her stories and stuff on there as well. And like I said, her patterns are just absolutely incredible. I bought quite a few of them during the sale that she had. And the Forager is one I've wanted to make for quite a while. And I'm not entirely sure if I will use the yarn for this, but I have other yarn I could potentially use. But this is Rowan felted tweed in this kind of green color. And it's 50% wool, 25% alpaca, 25% viscose, and like the name says, it's tweedy yarn. So it has all these different colored flecks in it. So I knew I wanted a pattern that was quite simple and basic so the yarn could just shine through. And I thought the Forager was quite nice for that because I'm pretty sure it doesn't have any sort of texture or anything. It's just stockinette. And I thought the green was just perfect for a jumper called the Forager. And yeah, so I do have other yarn if this one doesn't work out. So I'll do a gauge swatch, see what the fabric is like. Do I like the look of it? Or would I rather use something that's a bit more, I think it's more neutral, the other yarn that I have, and it's not tweedy. So we'll see. But at least the way I do my Make 9s is more about the patterns, and I have yarn in mind, but I might change out the yarn if I'm not feeling it once I do like the gauge swatch. Number 5. Number 5 is the odd one. Where did I put the yarn? There it is. I was thinking back and forth, humming and hawing, how am I meant to talk about this project? Because I was like, should I be honest or should I just lie? And I was like, we're not gonna lie. That's just awful and unnecessary. Life happens and things happen and it's all okay. Sounds really dramatic. It's not. It's the fact that I did my Make 9, planned it all and put it on Instagram at the beginning of January. But my mum bought me this Rowan yarn, and she also bought me a plate of Plötulopi by Istex. which I find is really funny because I don't think you could ever wear Plötulopi in Dubai. I don't think it could ever get cold enough. Maybe in the middle of the desert at night, maybe you could use it if you had nothing else on you. But so I had this when I was in Dubai over Christmas, and you know, it was January. I'd announced my Make 9, and I was like, okay, I haven't filmed a video yet, but I'm sure I won't get far with this project. I've already finished it. I'm not going to share the project. That will be in my next podcast episode, but I'll share the yarn. So, number 5 is the Wild Posy hat by Melody Hoffman. So it's just a hat. That's why it went so quickly, and I was an idiot for thinking I wouldn't get it done quickly. So this is the Plötulopi I used, because like I said, it's already done with my hair. And the reason it's in this ball is I've been taking the time since my experience last year with Nutiden and Plötulopi, how easily it rips, to wind the yarn into these balls first from the plates. So I'll be doing exactly the same with the Nutiden. Because I'm holding it double, you might be able to see that I've wound it up with the 2 strands. So it just makes it easier to work with, and it also means if you tug on this, it's less likely to then just rip apart. And pulling from a plate can get quite tricky, and I've had it in videos when I've been filming. I've just watched the plate of Nutiden fall to the ground and just rip from my project. Easy to reattach, but I don't want to reattach my yarn all the time. But yeah, so this one is already done. But it's a beautiful, textured hat. There's also the Wild Posy jumper that I'd like to make in the future, where I think there's 2 versions, Flora and Luna. Is that the one with Flora and Luna? But the hat is incredible. I made the second size, but I don't need to talk about that. It's not a podcast episode. But yeah, so that is the first one I've actually already finished before I've even filmed this video, which means I'm pretty much at the same point as I was last year with my Make 9. But I don't think you can compare a hat with a steeked fingering weight cardigan, but number-wise, I'm at the same point. Number 6 is the Tulip by Albiona McLaughlin. So Tulip stands for the Ultimate Lazy Cardigan, which is a cardigan. Really basic and simple. That's part of the reason why it's called the Ultimate Lazy Cardigan. And knitting Nutiden held double. So for my size, I need 600 grams of Nutiden. Now I have plenty of Nutiden, and part of my plan for my Make 9 and just my general knitting goals and things, which I'm planning on doing a video on. I'll talk more about it at the end. I want to knit more with my Nutiden yarn. Last year was kind of the year where I really got into it and bought a lot of it, and because you can't get colours again, once it's sold, it's sold. So if you didn't buy enough yarn, or if you use it for a project and then you're like, oh, well, I don't really love it that much, and then you decide to rip it back, which is a bit tricky with unspun yarn, doable, you can't get more of it if you want to suddenly do a bigger project. So you have to kind of prepare, or just go crazy and buy way more than you could ever use, which I don't want to do. So the way that I've always kind of dealt with the Nutiden stuff is if I really like a color, I'll buy a 300 gram bag. So this isn't the color I'm going to use, but here's an example that I will share in a little bit, that you can get these 300 gram bags of the yarn. So you can buy a 100 gram plate, or you can buy 300 or 500 gram bags of the yarn. And there's still plates in the bags, but they're not all 100 grams. So sometimes you do get just really small plates, and just a collection of different ones, which isn't a problem because you can just spit splice the yarn together. So it doesn't matter how many different plates of it you have. And I like the 300 gram bags because 300 grams is enough for me to make a jumper if I hold the yarn with Mohair. It's also enough to be able to make a hat, and also be able to use some of the yarn in a variety of different colorwork projects and things like that. So 300 grams is just perfect in my opinion. The 500 gram ones I view more if you've got a project in mind where you need to hold it double or it's a really big project or something. And I only buy them if I have a project in mind. And the 300 grams are more, I really love a color. I know I'm going to use this for a project. That's a garment quantity for me. I just need mohair, something else with it. And the 100 gram plates are more like, I really like this color and it intrigues me and I don't know how to use it. So I'm just going to get the 100 gram plate and use it for color work or something like that. Because 100 gram plates, it's really just for one project. So what I'm trying to say is I have a lot of different colors, but only 300 grams of it. So when I saw I needed 600 for the talk, I was like, what do I do? Do I now need to buy 600 grams of a future color? Oh, but I have so much Nutiden. And I was like, well, I guess I can't make it until I work through some of my Nutiden. And then I had the genius idea. Because you're holding it double, you can very easily hold 2 different colors together and create a whole new color. Because Nutiden, like I tried to show with the purple, it has so many different colors in it. When you hold 2 different colors together, they could really blend quite nicely because of the different shades and tones that you've got in there. So I've got a few colors. I was thinking about this when I was still in Austria last year, because I've been wanting to make this for quite a while, and have a couple of colors where I'm like, I think they could work well together. So next time I'm in Austria, I'm gonna probably do a little bit of swatching with different colors of Nutiden held double, and we'll just see how that goes. But I'd really like to make the talk this year. I find cardigans the easiest to wear because I can just wear a t-shirt underneath it. They can easily go off and on, and it's a bit easier to control my temperature with them. So I love cardigans, and I think it's a steeked one. I love steeked cardigans because it means no purling. It's just quicker and easier. So that's number 6. Number 7, I don't have the yarn here, but I've shown it in my, like, the yarn I have in Austria video and talking about my move. I shared the Retrosaria Vovo yarn that I want to use for the Sparky by Andrea Mowry. And that's part of my Make 9. That's number 7. And the yarn I shared was, the main body will be green, and the color work, and it's all over color work, will change from kind of, I think I start with like a yellowish color or like a browny yellow to like an orange to a red. Which way around I'm going to do it, I don't know yet. If I'll start with the lighter, go to the darker, or the other way around. But I really want to make that this year because it's sort of, it's part of the family that the Spice cardigan is part of, which I've made for a friend of mine, which I don't think I've shared in my English video. I did it in my German and I forgot to do it in my English. So all the pictures and stuff I'm going to share in my next podcast episode. I've left myself a note about this because I'm like, can't believe I didn't share it. It's done. It's been done for ages. I was like, I've got pictures. I was like, I'll share that. But I really enjoyed making that. And so I thought I'll make myself the Sparky sweater because I think it's just adorable. Number 8, I do have the yarn for. And it's more Nutiden that I want to use, and it's this color here. It's that 300 gram bag I was just showing off, and the color is called LJ. And I bought this yarn specifically to make the Grossa by Lega from Fiber Tales. I'm currently making, which I've shown off before, the Grow socks. And that was kind of I want those socks, I think they're beautiful, but also a way for me to test out the pattern and get a handle of how to do those like cables. So that when I make the shawl, it will be a bit easier, because Nutiden's a bit harder to work with if you're doing like cables and bobbles and things. So yeah, I'm hoping that will kind of prepare me a bit better for it. But I love the look of shawls and things. I just really struggle to knit them. I've talked about this plenty of times, and the exception to that is the only shawl I've ever knitted incredibly quickly is the Hummingbird shawl. I did my first one. I keep saying it because not as a way to show off, but a way to kind of explain to people how amazing the pattern is for me. The fact I knitted in 3 days. And spoilers, I've made another one. Did take me 5 days, but I'll share that in my podcast episode. But and I want to make another one, and I know I'll do that one really quickly as well. And I then tried to think about, why is that? Is it because the bees are adorable? The yarn was amazing? And I think it is that, but for the most part, it's the fact that you cast on all the stitches for the shawl right at the beginning. So you've got, when you're the most excited for a project, which is right at the beginning, at least for me, because I am a process knitter, so while I love having a finished project and getting to wear it, for me, it's very much, oh, I get to knit on this. But I do also suffer from kind of fatigue with my knitting sometimes, because I have to knit, not a huge size, but I do sit in the about extra large size. There's sometimes a lot of fabric that you just have to knit, and if it's fingering weight yarn and stuff, so even with shawls where it's, one size, it can just be exhausting when you end up with over 400 stitches. The rows get longer and longer, and that's when I tend to not get as much of a push at the end of a project to finish it, because I'm like, ooh, 5 more rows and I can wear it. I'm like, those 5 rows are just daunting to me. Whereas at the beginning, I'm like, I can do anything. I'm so excited. So casting on like however many stitches right at the beginning doesn't bother me. And it means as I start to get tired and I'm like, I just want this to be done, or I just have run out of steam, the rows get quicker and quicker because you give less and less stitches. And that's what the Grow shawl is like as well. You cast on all the stitches at the beginning. And I just like that. It's just a personal preference thing. And I've got a couple more shawl patterns that I found which are done the same way, and they're kind of what I want to focus on, and then hopefully it will teach me to fall in love with shawl knitting so I can kind of tackle some of the other ones I've got where I started and I'm just like, I don't know how I'm meant to finish these. So that's number 8. And I love Lega's podcasts and patterns as well, and I'm so excited that she's released a new video and she's got more socks coming out and more patterns coming out in the future, so I'm excited for that. And the final one, I don't have the yarn for here, but I've shown it off once again in that video that I mentioned before, and it's the Cindy's Choice socks by Isabel Kramer, which is a pattern in 52 weeks of socks made in Rauwerk DK, and that's exactly the yarn that I'm going to be using. So I shared the colours in that like wool stash in Austria video, and so it's a colourwork sock, DK weight, so I'm like, I don't think it's going to take long. So for the most part, my patterns are garments, but I've got a hat, I've got socks, I've got a shawl, and I do have a top as one of the garments, so I did try to be a bit careful to not just go for like fingering weight garments where I'm like, they're really hard to knit. It just takes a lot of time, takes a lot of mental like strength and determination and motivation. And so by having a variety of different types of projects, I'm hoping it will be a bit easier. And I'm really using yarn that I love. I love Nutiden so much. I love Retrosaria's yarn. I've wanted to work with Vovo for quite a while. I love Mondim. Rauwerk is one of the yarns I've wanted to work with for quite a while. So I've also kind of tried to focus on designing my Make 9 around yarns I own and really love, to hopefully make it a bit easier to try and get it done. But if I don't get them done, that's fine. It's just a guide for things. If I don't know what to knit, I've got things to kind of help me along and guide me. And the last thing I kind of wanted to mention is talking a bit about kind of knitting goals in general. So I've got a couple of things, like ideas for what I want to focus on this year, not just projects, but certain goals. I've kind of got things, how I want to be knitting this year. And it's a video I'll probably film soon, but it'd be nice to know, are people interested in that? Do people like hearing about other people's kind of goals when it comes to knitting? And it's not just specific goals of like, I want to knit 10 jumpers. I never do that. I have never set myself a target like that, except like taking part in challenges where it's like 12 socks in 2020 or whatever. And I don't mind that, but I don't take them very seriously. If I don't make 12 pairs of the socks that I was meant to make, oh well, I'm sure I've made 12 socks, like pairs of socks in that year anyway. So for me, it's not a number goal. It's more like, what do I want to focus on? Do I want to be knitting for myself more? Do I want to knit more garments? Do I want to crochet more? It's things like that that my goals are focused on. So that's something I have planned, but it'd be nice to know if people would want to hear that. And there was something else. I don't remember now. Well, there is the Maker's Dozen that's going around as well. If you don't know what that is, it's trying to knit at least 12 projects this year with yarn you already had in stash. So technically speaking, my Make 9 are all part of my Maker's Dozen, you could say. But I'm kind of counting it more as projects where I've had the yarn for a long time. So I keep a record of all the yarn that I have. I now have like separate things for yarn I have here in Germany, yarn I have in Austria and stuff. And so, for example, for me, I still want to make those other 8 projects of my Make 9 from 2021. And so that would be kind of something I'd focus on for my Maker's Dozen. The projects where I have the yarn for it, I already had it in like 2020, so I really should be knitting it now. And I've also got a couple of, I keep a record also of all the whips I've currently got. It's a lot. And at some point I might do a video again where I talk about every single whip that I've currently got. It wouldn't be a video like what other people have done of like frog or finish, because I don't really frog project. I'm quite careful about the things that I cast on and what yarn I use to cast on. So it takes a lot for me to actually go, nope, I'm unraveling this. So I think there's maybe one, I can think of definitely one project that I've unraveled. And that was a jumper I shared in my podcast. And that was because it was the wrong kind of yarn for it. It was one of the first kind of like garments in the round that I'd made. I was still quite new to knitting, and it's just, I was like, nope, I do want to make this pattern, I do want to work with this yarn, but not in that combination. And I've got plans. I've got the yarn for that jumper, and I've got plans for the original yarn for a different jumper. But yeah, so I don't really frog project, because even if I'm not currently feeling it, I know I will reach a point where I don't want to currently work on the project I've got, so I'll pick up one of my old ones. And I find enjoyment in going back to old projects. And I'm okay with things being on my needles. I'd like to have less whips, I really would. And I'm trying to be better about finishing things before starting new things. But I'm also just about enjoying my knitting and not taking it too seriously and being too stressed about it. So that's something else I sort of want to talk about, like how am I going to deal with all my whips and kind of show off my whips, but also my plan for my whips this year. So if that is something people would like to see, please leave a comment and let me know. And I've just got a lot of ideas for other kind of knitting content, and I'm just never sure if people are interested in it. But yeah, so that's my Make 9 for 2022. I'm not sure if I'll do update videos. I wanted to last year, but then there was nothing to update you all on, because I think I got halfway through the year and I still wasn't done with this one. I'm hoping it will be better, considering I've already finished one project, and spoilers, I've already started my second one and I'm quite far along, but I'm not going to tell you which one it is. You'll have to watch my podcast to find out. And yeah, so we'll see how this year goes with all of that. And I've just completely lost my train of thought. Just gone. But anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video, seeing what my plans are, seeing the yarn that goes with it, because I didn't want to write all of that on Instagram. It's way too long. And I find most people don't really read things on Instagram. Do you read most things on Instagram? I do. I enjoy Instagram for the pictures and the captions, and I love it when people take the time to write a caption. But it often just seems like when I've looked at people's like captions and read what they've written, and then I read people's comments, I'm like, I don't think you read the caption, considering what you just commented. But, you know, Instagram, I guess, was designed to be like a picture social media app. So if you don't want to read the captions, that's fine. But it'd be interesting to know. Yes, I'm going to stop talking now. And I'm actually going to do some knitting. Probably on one of my Make 9s. Do you want to guess? Shall we play a little game? Do people want to guess which one of the Make 9s have I already started? Now, my mum doesn't get to play because she already knows. So don't spoil it, mother. Yeah, it'll just be a bit of fun. Awesome. Thank you very much for watching. And I will see you in my next video. Bye.